It's like a shark, NATO, except with poop.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. I had the best words. God bless the United States.
Armed and operational battle station.
Who's got a hammer?
How you like that, boy?
Hey everybody, around the nation, Waldorf Nation, Jeff Waldorf here today. Already starting out with a TYT raid. Holy shit! Hey, welcome to the stream. I haven't even started yet. But awesome, welcome raiders. Welcome to the show. So look, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a good show. We're gonna talk about Trump suing Facebook and why that is, of course, doomed to fail. Just like everything that he does. Good fun. We have, of course, an excerpt from an upcoming book about Trump as well. Of course, he says nice things about Hitler. Here we go. Again. We're also going to talk about Capitol rioters. One who decided to do a Bible study where they didn't actually study the Bible. They studied weapons. Great. And then I do have video of a GOP congressman being a little too honest about their intentions. So, fun times. Again, thank you for the raid, TYT. I do appreciate that. Welcome to the show. Again, we're going to have fun, and it's kind of going to be a shorter show. I think than usual, since we don't really have I don't really have a lot prepared today. Later on tonight, I'm going to be on Humanist Report, the dystopian times. So we're going to be doing a panel. That's going to be a lot of fun as well. It's 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to do that later tonight. But again, we're going to do this. We're going to have some fun. Welcome to the show. If you haven't already, please like and share the stream. And let's dive into it. Let's dive into it. We're going to start off with Trump, of course.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Yes. Lack of preparation. Is this turning into a right-wing show? Oh, no, I wouldn't prepare at all. I was actually looking into what happened in Haiti. And so there's a lot of information. Jovenel Moïse, who was the president of Haiti, was assassinated earlier today. And so I actually was planning on talking about that. But it turns out there's a lot more information involved in that than I had time to put together. And so I'm going to save that. We're going to do that tomorrow, or at some point this week. because there's a lot of history to look into, including involvement by the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation, and we got corruption, and we got gas prices, and soccer. It's very, and we got gangs. We got a guy like named like Hamburger or something. It's crazy. There's a lot going on with this Haiti story, and so, as well as the dash of course of American imperialism and the bourgeois, and we got Spanish speaking mercenaries. Yeah. So as you can tell, it's complicated, and it's gonna take a while. So I'm gonna have that. We're gonna talk about that tomorrow, when I have everything sort of, when I've read through all my sources, and when I've read through and prepared a good segment for you, because I want to make sure that I know what's going on, so I can tell you what's going on. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do here in the show. All right. Anyway, over on Twitch, again, thank you for the new follows. Thank you for Tempo Dan for giving out the tier 2, two tier 1 community subs. Zybus X, thank you for cheering the 95 bits. Wow, all the follows. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. All right. Now, that said, let's go to the first story. It appears that former President Donald Trump continues to be a bit salty because he was banned from social media. So much so, there's so much salt there. That he's putting on his freedom fries, that he has decided to launch a lawsuit that's going to go very, very well. And by well, I mean badly. Here we go. So the New York Times earlier actually reported that Trump intends to sue Twitter and Facebook and Google for banning him from their platforms. So here we have another failed lawsuit, and he actually made an announcement earlier today, a press conference. As if, you know, he's president, but maybe he actually does think that he's still president. Insanity. But okay, another failed lawsuit. Here we go. And I'm going to explain why this is going to fail and why it is so ridiculous and why you should laugh at it. Now, according to the Associated Press, Trump will serve as the lead plaintiff in a class action lawsuit. So apparently, maybe everybody's going to get involved. Everybody who's ever been banned from Twitter might be able to get involved in this. Oh, great. Fun. So he's claiming that he has been wrongfully censored by the companies, according to a person familiar with the action. Oh, I've been censored. I can't believe they would censor me like this. But you know, kicking me off the platform after I broke the rules. Here we go. Baby. Sad. Now, look, if you get banned from Twitter, it sucks. No, I totally agree. But it's also likely because you've earned it. Not in every single case 100% of the time. But generally, if you get banned from Twitter or any of these other platforms, you did something. You were naughty. You were a bad boy or girl. Maybe. Now, the AP notes, Trump was suspended from Twitter and Facebook after his followers stormed the Capitol building. On January 6th, the company cited concerns that he would incite further violence. And of course, he's continued to spread the big lie. In fact, that's what he's been talking about, claiming once again, basically, that he won the election, even though state and local election officials, his own attorney general, William Barr, numerous judges, including ones he had appointed, have all said, this is bullshit. Yeah, the claims that there's massive voter fraud, bullshit. Never happened. We don't have any evidence. I know, because we gave them ample time to get to present that evidence, and they didn't. They didn't because they couldn't, because they didn't have it. And so there it is. Now, Trump, the lawsuit, as I said, is destined to fail. Why? Well, because he agreed to the terms of service on Twitter and Facebook, which again is kind of a contract, which says that if you break the rules, you can be removed. You know, it's the thing that everybody scrolls past before they hit the check mark or the radio button that says, I agree. Yeah, it's that. He must have, he doesn't read anything. Well, of course he doesn't read anything. And so he hit the I agree button, and now he's surprised that he got kicked off the platform. I know. Rules, right? Rules. Now, I've got more rules. Under Section 230 of the 1996 Communications Decency Act, internet companies are also generally exempt from liability for the material that users post. Well, that's a good thing. I don't want to, for example, I don't want to have like a forum, like a GeoCities. I'm showing my age here, guys. If I have like a WordPress site, and you know, I open up the forums and people say some horrendous shit, I shouldn't get in trouble for it. That's what Section 230 is, essentially. And maybe that's kind of a bad example, but it basically says that if you're somebody who, you know, if you're Facebook or your Twitter or your whatever, Grindr, Getter, you know, Twitter, Twatter, it doesn't matter what it is, right? So you have one of these sites, you can't get in trouble for somebody shit posting all over your stuff. That makes sense, right? Yes, you have a platform, and yes, people can post on that platform. Why should you be, as the owner of the platform, liable for what randos come and say? 230, right? Now, Republicans hate 230, and it's weird because, wait a minute, you're the same people who say, well, gun manufacturers shouldn't be held liable if somebody buys a gun and shoots somebody, right? And that's sort of the same principle. Now, I also happen to be against that. I know, unpopular opinion, I don't think that gun manufacturers should be held accountable if somebody buys a gun and shoots somebody with it. I think that gun manufacturers should take steps to try to prevent that. Maybe having some sort of, required to have like tracking put in there, or have people be liable for insurance, something, right? But generally, it's sort of the same principle. Not going to hold a corporation accountable for something that someone else who uses that service or object does. And that just makes sense, and I'm pretty consistent about that, and you can disagree because, you know, gun violence is a huge problem, and I totally agree with that, and we should actually absolutely do something about it. All right, but anyway, now the law, getting back to that, provides a legal safe harbor for internet companies, and also allows social media platforms to be able to moderate their services by removing posts that are obscene or violate the terms of service, so long as they're acting in good faith. So, again, that's basically to make sure they don't run afoul of the First Amendment or the freedom of speech. Okay. Now, you can also make an argument, and a fairly compelling one, that these companies don't always act in good faith. Totally fair. Totally fair. I have seen lefties get, banned on social media for ridiculous reasons. I have seen, of course, videos on YouTube or creators on YouTube get banned for hate speech for doing commentary on videos of the people who are actually doing the hate speech, whereas the videos that contain the hate speech they pulled it from remain online. So totally, you can make that argument that this is unevenly enforced. Sure. And again, that not all of these companies act in good faith. And look, you could also argue, as I often do, that these companies, they are really big. They are too big. And that maybe they need to be broken up. And, you need to have these companies that have a reduction in the amount of power that they have over the discourse. Okay? Because they can be considered to be gatekeepers of information. That said, the way things stand now, I think it's totally fair to ban Donald Trump for ginning up insurrection. I think that was a good idea. Okay? And this was the president of the United States ginning up his followers, many of whom are, again, they're the ones that generally stockpile the weapons and talk about watering the tree of liberty with blood. That's kind of dangerous. To go to the Capitol to, fight like hell, or, we're not going to have a country anymore. That's why you have to storm the Capitol. You've got to storm the gates. Well, if you can't see the difference, if you can't see the problem here, well, then you're probably blind. And again, this is not censorship. Trump is not censored. He can go out and say, he just had a press conference earlier today. He can say whatever he wants within reason. But what he does not have the right to do, and that's why this entire thing is going to fail, is that he does not have the right to force a company, a private corporation, to platform him. That is not something that is enshrined in the Constitution. He does not have that right. I don't have a right to force the local Fox affiliate to air my show. That'd be great. Sure, I'd probably get a lot of people watching, maybe. Maybe change some hearts and minds, but I don't have the right to go and demand airtime. Nobody has the right to be elevated onto a platform. And that's it. And understand that that's what Republicans want. That's what they're after when they scream about cancel culture, which, by the way, I love. It's also part of the grift. You have these Republicans that scream about being canceled and silenced. And what do? They make the rounds all over conservative media and reach audiences of millions of people. Like, really, dude? Oh, no, I'm being canceled, says the loudest guy in the room. F off. Ridiculous. And you want to talk about censorship. You want to talk about cancel culture. Republicans are the OG censorship people. They're why you can't show a nipple on TV or swear or, and by the way, you can't do any of that, but you can go way over the top on violence. Totally fine. They also tried banning D&D, rock music, rap, short skirts, video games, gay people, actual human beings. They tried to ban human beings. And not only that, but they're all about the moral panic, book burning, erasing history, censorship, cancel culture. That is what they're about. Understand that this is what privilege looks like. How dare this giant corporation deny me a platform? Do you know who I am? I was the president of the United States. How dare you deny me a platform? Obviously, on its face, it is super dumb. It's dumb. But it gets dumber. Believe it or not, it gets dumber. As many have pointed out, there's the third, section 3 of their lawsuit. It's like 44 pages of nonsense. Okay? And in section 3, they allege that Facebook, as a result of its size, is now considered a state. The country, the state of Facebook. What? Look, I'll agree that Facebook is too large and needs to be broken up. No, I totally agree with that. But they're not a state actor. Are you kidding me? Facebook is not a country. And even if it was, by the way, if Facebook was its own country, and God forbid, right? Guess what? They'd have their own rules and would still be able to enforce their own rules. They wouldn't be bound by our Constitution. This is so deeply idiotic. But there's even more. They admit that, oh, you know what? Yeah, it turns out we had to sign the TOS. Here's what they said, line 78. Neither plaintiff nor putative class members were free to decline the speech restrictions imposed by Facebook in its TOS if they wished to use the Facebook platform. Use of its platform was expressly conditioned on agreeing to these restrictions or user access is denied. So, yeah, they just admitted, yeah, we signed the agreement. And in the agreement, because we had to sign the agreement to use it, well, then they had the right to ban us. Well, what the? Well, okay, well, they knew it then. And they're admitting it right there. That's why this is going to fail. This is like me signing up for Getter and then posting a bunch of fucked up shit and then crying about getting banned. Well, what do you think is going to happen? What? Why? And here's what I don't understand. Why is it that the rules are only meant for, anybody other than right-wingers? I mean, it's always about, oh, no, you have to follow the rules. I don't have to follow the rules. You know who I am? I'm a conservative. I'm a patriot. I don't have to follow the rules, but you do. Free speech for me, but not for thee. That's what it is. Trump doesn't give a goddamn about free speech. He never has, never will. Doesn't give a damn about the Constitution. Doesn't even know what's in it. Well, he only knows the First and Second Amendment, and only parts of it. He wants to get attention, of course, from this, and he's got it. Oh, you got my attention now. Probably to get, to get the news off talking about the indictments, the criminal investigation into the Trump organization. And all that stuff that's going on. But more importantly, he's just mad that he can't force Facebook and Twitter to give him a platform. And that's what it's all about. This, just like the nonsense voter fraud stuff that he keeps complaining about, is going to absolutely get demolished, laughed out of court. That's it. That's it. All right. He also needs money for his legal battles. It's a really great point there. One of our Twitch viewers. Oh, all right. Anyway, I've got some Twitch stuff to shout out before we move on. Crazy Wine in PA, thank you for cheering 100 bits. The Squiddies, thank you for the tier 1 community sub. Thank you, Granny Dragon, for gifting a sub. Pagan Communist, thank you for gifting the 5 tier 1 subs. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's amazing. And thank you for the hype train. Really appreciate that. All right. Let's go to the Hitler story. Oh, of course. We have to go to the Hitler story. Former President Donald Trump apparently stunned his chief of staff, John Kelly, by praising Hitler. Because, of course. Now, why at all would you be stunned by this admission? I have no idea. And then why sit on it until July? Well, there's that as well. All right, so now, The Guardian, this is where it comes from, had obtained a copy of the forthcoming book, Frankly, We Did Win the Election, by a Wall Street Journal reporter, Michael Bender, who then reported the one-term president's remark while on a visit to Europe to mark the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. Trump apparently told Kelly, according to the book, quote, well, Hitler did a lot of good things. Just sit back and absorb that for a second. Right? Oh, he did a lot of good things. Really? Can you give me an example? Please, I'm dying to know what you think that one of the biggest mass murderers of the 20th century did. That was great. That you really look up to. Actually, you know what? Let's not. I don't want to know. Trump made the remark after Kelly reminded the president which countries were on which side during the conflict. So he had no idea, again, the history of World War I, likely of the history of World War II. He's not, he's not very well read. I hear he's a one-pager kind of guy. Yeah. One-pager. Now, he also, Kelly connected the dots from the First World War to the Second World War, and of course, documented all of Hitler's atrocities. The former president denied making the remark about Hitler, according to Bender, but also wrote that sources said that Kelly, quote, told the president that he was wrong, but Trump was undeterred and praised the German economic recovery under Hitler during the 1930s. Kelly pushed back, saying that the German people would have been better off poor than subjected to the Nazi genocide. Even if Germany's economy recovered after the Nazis took over in 1933, Kelly told Trump, "You cannot ever say anything supportive of Adolf Hitler. You just can't." But of course he did, allegedly. Honestly, I'm not surprised. Of course he would say nice things about that guy. Is there, look, I say allegedly, but is there any doubt in your mind? Honestly, can you think about this? This is somebody who has made, by the way, used old tropes about Jewish people. Okay. So yeah, anti-Semitic tropes while talking to a Jewish audience. There's also been like weird Star of David ads or Star of David's in his ads, surrounded by money and Hillary Clinton, weird stuff. Not only that, but he's also made positive remarks about the far right and white supremacist groups, white nationalist groups, the same groups that are chanting Jews will not replace us. He also told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. He said there were good people on both sides of the Charlottesville March. Again, this is where violent white supremacists had run in their car into a group of protesters, counter-protesters. They murdered somebody. Heather Heyer. Oh, but then good people on both sides. There's good people. Well, I know who you're protecting, who you think are good people and why. But you know what sucks about this whole thing? Again, no surprise on what Donald Trump had said and why. But this actually makes John Kelly out to be the better guy, the better person. I'm sorry, what? What? Why would you think? What? I don't. John Kelly is a ghoul, but at least apparently he's not praising Nazis. How low is the bar anymore? It's below the floor. You've got to dig a hole to reach it. And understand that for Trump, it doesn't matter to him how many people were murdered during the Holocaust. He probably thinks that they're losers and suckers, like the soldiers, right? And that the only thing that matters is how much your people love you and how much money you make. And that's really what it's all about. That's what drives Donald Trump. Okay, it's all he cares about. That's why he looks up to somebody like Duterte or Kim Jong-un or Vladimir Putin. That's why he looks up to these people. It's because, you got what I want. You got money and people love you. And they suck up to you and they look up to you and all that. That's all he cares about. And by the way, it was a good economy. You know what it was? It was a war economy. Because they were trying to take over Europe. And he did so, again, by persecuting not just Jewish people, enslaving and murdering people. No, he also did it with the Roma. He did it to the Roma, the disabled, the mentally ill, anybody who didn't live up to their ideal. Made fun of a handicapped reporter, yes. Trump did. All of that is absolutely horrifying. But that we got people in this country and elsewhere that think, no big deal. No big deal. No, that's great. Monsters. Complete and total monsters. That's all they are. Didn't the American government recruit the Nazis after the war? Yes, so Operation Paperclip. That's right. Yeah. So, again, I don't think that America is great. We ended up actually taking a lot of, people who were part of the Nazi Party and bringing them over to us. So, there's that. But that is an excellent point. to bring up. They also rounded up the intellectuals. The ones that wouldn't agree with him, yeah. Lisa, I doubt he read the entire book. He said a non-white judge couldn't do his job. There's been so many horrifying things, horrible things that he has said throughout his entire life. True. So yeah, I'm not surprised. And there's so much that you can't even remember. And that's probably the worst thing about the Trump administration is that the shit rolled nonstop down the hill. And there was only so much that you could talk. It's like one bad thing comes out and then something worse comes out and everybody forgets about it, or some things people don't cover because you don't have time. And it's over and over and over and over and over. Trump said if you kill millions and millions of people and steal or take their stuff, it's good for the economy. Oh, like, for example, Iraq. We're going to come in, we should take their oil. This is a so-called anti-war guy. And he's like, well, if we're going to go to war, I mean, we're just going to go take their oil. Oh, great. Wonderful. Anti-war my ass. Jesus. All right. Moving on. Let's go to another story. Yeah, there's always something next week. With the current news cycle, it's forgotten by the next election. That's a great point, Holy Beer Dragon. It's a very good point. All right. Oh, one more comment, because there's, for one, I have the best audience. I have the smartest audience, of course. There's no question about that. Y'all keep bringing up some amazing points. Dora Milage says, how could John Kelly see himself as a patriot? He didn't even stand up when it counted. Yeah, you waited until now. And you're right. He didn't actually stand up when it counted. And this is the thing. He surrounded himself with ghouls and vultures. And that's really what it is. Now you have, and it's just like what we predicted before. They're going to come out later on, and I said this during the Trump administration, when this is all over, 4 or 8 years, and thankfully it was only 4, that they're going to come out and there's going to be nonstop book after book detailing the horrible things that he said. The horrible things that he said or have done during his time in office. We had no idea. That we probably suspected, but had no idea. And, well, guess what? That's exactly what happened. John Kelly absolutely did hate immigrants, yes. And again, that's the other thing. They agreed with him. And those are the people that stood with Donald Trump were the ones that absolutely agreed with him. Very, very true. All right. So recently, a group of Capitol rioters were busted building explosives to possibly use against the government. So now, on Tuesday, the Washington Post reported that a man named Phi Duong, who was an accused Capitol rioter from Northern Virginia, and his associates were building up an arsenal of explosives under the guise of a Bible study group, according to prosecutors. Phi Duong, 27, appeared in court on Friday and was released to home confinement pending trial over the objections of prosecutors who sought stricter terms. So, now wait a minute. He's already released. So, he's back at home. Yes, it's house arrest. But wait till you hear what he's accused of doing and actually how they caught him, because this is really interesting. So now, according to the court record, at the time of his arrest, Duong had several guns, including an AK-47, oh, wonderful, and the material to make 50 Molotov cocktails. So now he gets caught as a result of an undercover agent that was inside of this little group that he put together. And by the way, he met that undercover agent during the January 6th Capitol riots. So now, the Washington Post explains that he had entered the Capitol on January 6th, telling an undercover federal agent that he had climbed the wall, delivered a letter to lawmakers, and then filmed himself opening a door with a crowbar. Duong described himself as an undercover officer, to the undercover officer as, quote, an operator, and then explained that he was dressed in all black in order to perpetuate the lie that it was Antifa. So, oh yeah, no, I'm dressed up. I'm doing cosplay as an Antifa guy so that it doesn't get traced back to Donald Trump. Oh, great. Wonderful. Here we go. Now, in video later seen by investigators, he was also identified as one of the men shouting, "We're coming for you, Nancy," wait, if you're Antifa, aren't you supposed to love Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats? Again, that's what Republicans say all the time. Again, they don't make sense. Their claims don't make sense. First it was Antifa, and then it was FBI. And by the way, yes, sure, there were people who were undercover cops, and they're going to use that probably as an aha. But okay, it makes sense to have an undercover person there. It makes sense, and this is what they found. All right. So now, following the insurrection, that same undercover officer and Duong decided to stay in touch. And a week later, he told the undercover officer that he was part of a cloak and dagger group that will, quote, build resistances for whatever will inevitably come. Well, if that sounds kind of ominous, well, you're right about that. It is. Because, well, in March, just to show you what he's expecting, he had told his associates to, quote, keep your guns and be ready to use them. Well then. It gets better. He and others apparently hid their activities during a Bible study. Oh, no, we're just doing a Bible study. Here, we got the good book. Okay, well, do you happen to know what that book actually says? One of the first commandments is thou shalt not kill, right? And you're over here stocking up weapons. Did they not read the book? Of course they did. Of course they did. I'm guessing they skipped over that part. Now, Duong also brought in somebody, a 3%er. The 3%ers, of course, it's another far-right group that had been, some of them had been charged with conspiring to storm the Capitol. Explaining that 2 generations of his family had fled communist regimes in China and Vietnam before immigrating to the United States. According to court documents, Duong was saying, now we're here, and at a certain point, you just gotta make a stand. But for Trump? But for Trump. That's who you're standing for. Well, by the way, was calling, at that time, was blaming Chinese people, Asian Americans, and Asian people for spreading the coronavirus. And this guy's like, no, nailed it. No, I'm totally going to listen to Donald Trump and invade the Capitol. Great. He also talked about surveilling the Capitol building, and in February, an associate took some footage of it. According to prosecutors, he also talked about freeing alleged rioters who were behind bars, saying, according to the government, quote, I see that as an opportunity. With every great revolution, you go to the prisons and you break them out. Y'all talking about violent revolution here. And yet, of course, this guy is released to house arrest. More. According to the court documents, he and the undercover agent also toured a jail in Lorton, Virginia, where he had talked about testing out explosives. He told the agent that he was working on a, quote, manifesto as well, saying, if I get into a gunfight with the feds and I don't make it, I want to be able to transfer as much wisdom to my son as possible. Prosecutors also say he also discussed how far he could shoot on his family's property. In the event of a raid, and said that it could be the site of a second Waco. He also said that at a meeting in June that he had collected styrofoam and more than 50 wine bottles to make Molotov cocktails, but had held off buying fuel because obviously he didn't want it to look like he was stocking up firearms and weapons. Didn't want to do anything suspicious. Oh, great. He told the undercover agent that he had been saving motor oil from his car for that express purpose because he didn't want to buy gas. He also said he would prefer a peaceful secession of Appalachia to a violent conflict, according to the record, and that all of his preparations were for quote-unquote defense. The Molotov cocktails, he told the agent, were only meant for disabling armored vehicles and had repeatedly put off plans to test those same explosives. Well, I mean, do you really need to test that it's going to work? You light it on fire and you throw it. Allegedly. So, understand that this guy and his Bible study group seem to have gone full prepper. And yet the guy's actually getting off pretty easy, considering. In fact, U.S. Magistrate Judge Michael Harvey declined to impose tougher restrictions on his release, noting that the government did not seek to jail him as a flight risk or threat to the community. He is only charged with illegally entering the Capitol, obstructing the vote count, and disorderly conduct, but not with planning or committing violence. So, look, he didn't actually beat a police officer. So they said, oh, you know what? Very minor charges. Let him do house arrest while he sits there and holds Bible study and hoards weapons. The judge did point out that he had no criminal record and had demonstrated ties to the community. Quote, he is employed and lives with his parents and child in Alexandria. Oh, well, that's okay then. Apparently, if it had been an unemployed man with no kids that did the same thing, well, then of course he'd be in jail. Oh, all right. I get it. Sure. The undercover agent, quote, gave him every opportunity to step over the line, and at every point he chose not to. Someone who showed so much concern for what the legal lines are should be given the opportunity to show he can continue to stay in the lines, according to the judge. So, understand, right, that people who didn't invade the Capitol, who didn't stockpile weapons or explosives, don't get off easy in this country. Let me give you an example of that. Recently, a 17-year-old kid was shot and killed by a police officer for holding a bottle of antifreeze. So he's pulled over by a cop. His car couldn't go in park. So he got out. He put a bottle of antifreeze, or was trying to, in his back tire to prevent him from rolling into a cop. Okay. Didn't even get as far as, he got out the door, got the bottle of antifreeze, and was shot dead by a police officer. According to an account by 16-year-old Jordan King, who was with the man who was killed, the boy who was killed, at the time, the two of them were working on repairs to a truck's transmission and were pulled over by Sergeant Michael Davis after driving the truck away from a body shop at about 3 a.m. King told local ABC affiliate KTV News that the truck wouldn't properly shift into park, so he went into the back of the truck with a jug of antifreeze to prop behind the truck's tire so it wouldn't roll backward and strike the police vehicle. That's when the police officer immediately shot and killed the 17-year-old kid. He did not stop. He did not tell him to stop, did not tell him to get on the ground. Just blam, blam, you're dead. That's sort of the difference. You're a right-winger, and I don't know the kid's politics. Probably doesn't have any. You're a right-winger, you invade the Capitol building. And then you stockpile weapons afterwards, after you had invaded the Capitol, collect guns, all that stuff, and oh, don't worry, you get to go home. Break down at 3 a.m. and try to get out with a bottle of antifreeze, you get shot dead. That's what happens in this country. That's what happens in this country. I'm glad nobody was shot. In the case of, the agent, Ashley Babbitt was shot, and she had lost her life there. And she knew what she was getting into, honestly. But here's the thing. This guy stockpiled weapons, guns, or explosives. And even if he was to planning on using it for defense, that doesn't mean he spoke for everyone around him who was also making these weapons. And who's to say that, their defense didn't involve, I don't know, a preemptive attack? You don't know. It's so weird how the government has been so lenient on people who are trying to do an insurrection. I'm just saying. And by the way, before you say, well, why do you want to come down so hard on these people? Why do you want to have the full power of the state to come down on these people? Well, it's because we've had more than one case of people who were released, allowed to go home, who ended up stockpiling weapons. This is not the first. Thomas Robertson reported on this. A former police officer in Rocky Mount, Virginia, was busted building pipe bombs and ordering guns online after being forbidden to own guns. They said the defendant's possession of an explosive device and firearms, coupled with his extreme rhetoric, advocating for violence, indicating no remorse, illustrate that the pending charges are unlikely to serve as a deterrent for future violence. For these reasons, the defendant should be detained, according to prosecutors. I mean, odds are, if you were there in the Capitol, you really didn't care about the law at this point. You didn't care about the law. You don't care about rule of law. And yes, you are an extremist. You have to take these people seriously because they are a serious threat. That's what frustrates me about all these stories of Capitol rioters, people who were involved. Oh no, go ahead and go to Mexico. Go on vacation. It's fine. Go, have a fun party on July 4th. Totally fine. If it weren't a right-winger, in a lot of cases a white right-winger, this is not the case, obviously, but a right-winger, if it had been a Black Bloc Antifa, right, or a Black Panther, I don't think this would have been the same. I think this would have ended up very differently. And so, I'm just saying, they are a serious threat, and they should be treated as a serious threat. They thought that Trump was going to pardon them, and Trump threw them under the bus. Well, of course. Of course they did. Absolutely. That ban is killing him. What happened to the news site he was launching? I think it was Jason Miller's site, Rioter. And currently it is filled with Sonic the Hedgehog porn. Fun times. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. I'm just looking through some of the comments, y'all. Thank you for the follow, Holy Beer Dragon. Welcome. And 18 Wheel Dragon as well. And Sats Dragon. I love all these, love the dragons joining into the show. I love that. I love that. All right. Oh my gosh. Tabodan, I'm not going to say that. not going there. We're not going there. All right. One more story for y'all. Great job on TDR. Thank you. By the way, I'm going to be on the main TYT show on Friday. So I'm going to be in the on the power panel with Jake and John. I'm looking forward to it. So you'll see more of me there, and also you'll see some of me tonight. I will be on the Humanist Report, a panel, The Dystopian Times. So that should be a lot of fun too. So I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere. I'm like a fungus. I'm growing everywhere, and you can't get rid of me. All right. Anyway. Here we go. Last story of the day. Republican Chip Roy of Texas has been caught on video openly admitting that bipartisanship is a sham, and that really what Republicans are looking for in these negotiations with the Democrats over things like infrastructure is just to delay, and to cause chaos. Here's him in his own words, responding to a couple of questions on infrastructure. Take a look.
Honestly, right now, for the next 18 months, our job is to do everything we can to slow all of that down to get to December of 2022, and then get in here and lead.
You had mentioned infrastructure, and I was just, this whole brouhaha over the weekend with Biden saying that they were going to ram through all this all these liberal wish list things. Why are y'all going to vote for that? Are you going to vote for the one bill if they're going to put all this other stuff in a bill that they just ram through without any bipartisan?
Well, I don't vote for anything in the House of Representatives right now. I mean, not flippantly, but there's literally just nothing to.
But I mean, I know it's the Senate, but
the Senate. So what? Right? The Senate was allegedly working to cut a deal. The people who are working to cut the deal, by the way, were not your conservative warriors in the Senate, and so they're cutting a deal. But then Biden, who came out and said we got a deal, allowed Pelosi basically to kind of step in and go, "Oh, no, you don't. You're only going to get that deal if you have reconciliation with all this liberal garbage." And then Biden said, "Oh, okay, yeah," and then kind of backed away from the deal. Then he kind of came back away from the veto threat, so nobody knows what anybody's going to do right now. That's the thing. This is the problem. I actually say, thank you, Lord, 18 more months of chaos confusion and the inability to get stuff done. That's what we want.
So, good. It's good to know that Chip Roy thinks that expanding Medicare is quote-unquote liberal garbage. I'm sure his voters that are 65 years or older, many of whom are on Medicare and would actually benefit from expanding it to include dental and vision, that he thinks that their needs are just liberal garbage. Well, great. Now, you all know my position. I think we should expand Medicare to everybody. Everybody deserves Medicare. Everybody deserves health care, just health care, period, with, again, vision, dental. It's amazing to me that we as a country think of teeth as luxury bones and have to have separate insurance. It's insanity. Complete and utter insanity. But Chip Roy thinks, oh, no. We think, that's liberal garbage. We don't want any of that. And our entire point is to make sure that none of that happens. None of that happens. Well, there is some garbage here. It appears that Chip Roy is the garbage. But again, this is how they really think. This is, again, what they tell their voters. They're very honest about that. And also, of course, what they tell their donors. And for one, and let me just point out, by the way, that it's not just the Chip Roys of the world, the Republicans. Yes, they are very honest about this. But there's also Democrats that go and talk to their donors and say, well, we don't want people to get Medicare. Why is that? Well, it's because our donors in the insurance industry and the pharmaceutical industry, they don't want it. They don't want people to get that because, well, that's going to cost them profits. So anyway, that said, here's some of the response to this. Advocacy group Indivisible Houston says, quote, Chip Roy says what we all already know. There's no intent of working across the aisle. It is all posturing for bullshit and chaos. Now, the reason I read that quote is because that's 100% true. That's exactly what I'm saying as well. It is bullshit and chaos. That's what Republicans do. That's the whole point of what they're doing right now. They're never going to work with you. Why would you work? Okay, why is there this notion that you can work with the Republican Party? Why? Why does that still exist? Bipartisanship is dead. And by the way, the only time that there is actual bipartisanship is usually when it benefits wealthy donors. And then, of course, the people get part of that benefit as well. But generally, as the Princeton study had noted, we're basically an oligarchy. The needs of regular people, if there's a bill that helps regular people but doesn't include rich people, it never passes. But if there's a bill that helps rich people and then has a side benefit of maybe helping some regular people, well, then it's much more likely to pass. That's how government works. That's how our system works right now, because it is captured by the wealthy and powerful. People who, the same people that Chip Roy and Mitch McConnell work for. Now there's more. Ezra Levin, co-director of Indivisible, also noted that Chip Roy got caught saying it out loud, but to be clear, this has been Senate Minority Leader McConnell's plan all along. And it's true. It's absolutely true. Understand the Republican Party thrives on this chaos. And that's what they want. As the clip of Roy circulated online, McConnell told the Kentucky audience that Republicans intend to give Democrats a, quote, hell of a fight over their plan to pass a multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure bill using the budget reconciliation process, which is exempt from the 60-vote legislative filibuster. Now, Bernie Sanders, he's putting together a $6 trillion bill. That's good. But of course, budget reconciliation, it's not a perfect process. It would be nice to not have the filibuster so we can actually get other things done that can't be included in reconciliation. But as far as McConnell is concerned, McConnell said this, quote, the era of bipartisanship on this stuff is over. When was there bipartisanship on this? There wasn't. You said, we're not going to work with you. And then you put out some measly ass bill that does almost nothing other than privatize. And by the way, I've attacked the Biden infrastructure bill for doing just that. I'm sorry, asset recycling? Asset recycling. That's what we're doing here. Which means handing over public infrastructure works to private corporations. Not only that, but the Biden infrastructure bill had also benefited fossil fuel projects. That's the bipartisanship. That's the bipartisanship. Ridiculous. To say that, oh no, bipartisanship ends now. You never tried bipartisanship. Complete and utter lie. But he continues. He says, quote, there is a process by which I could pass this without a single Republican, but we're going to make it hard for them. And there are a few Democrats left in rural America and some others who would like to be in the more political center who may find this offensive. And you know who they're looking at. They're looking at Kyrsten Sinema. They're looking at Joe Manchin. Because of course they are. And Joe Manchin, by the way, has obviously been revealed to have conservative big donors. So he's bankrolled by these guys. And so he's going to work for these donors that don't want this, that don't want green infrastructure. You know what I find offensive, by the way? Mitch McConnell. I also find working for corporate donors offensive. I find the idea of bipartisanship with fascists or fascist enablers offensive. For the love of God, people, open your eyes. Anybody who still believes in bipartisanship in 2021, again, it wouldn't be a bad idea if we actually had an additional party that argued in good faith. We don't. Not in the Republican Party. We don't. It's all about serving the donors. It's all about making as much money as possible off government, giving the donors as much as they can, and then going to work for those donors. It is the revolving door, and it does hit both parties. Open your eyes. Bipartisanship is garbage. Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, and the rest of the corporate Democrats are also garbage. They're the ones that are standing in the way of you in healthcare, expanding Medicare. They don't give a damn about you, and neither does McConnell, the donors, or anyone else. All right. All right. Well, that's all I got today. Thank you for joining me around the nation here. Thank you for all the new follows on Twitch. I really appreciate that. Let's see. There's a super chat here that I wanted to read. Let me see if I can find it. I'm going to have to go through some menus for that, because of course I do. Disastrous. We'll do it live, folks. We're going to do it live. Fuck it. We'll do it live. All right. Hold on here. Gabby Mathis says, looking forward to the TYT Power Panel. I also am. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I love it. I just love having conversations, and that's gonna be a pretty big deal. So I'm gonna reach, I'm gonna reach some people, I think. Wow, what? I got weird trolls. Don't I? Like I don't even disagree with, I'm guessing I don't even disagree with some of the people's politics or policies, but we got weird people in here today. What's going on? Did somebody like tweet something out at me or something? Weird. All right, well, like, think whatever you want. I don't really care. Here's some money to add to the chaos. Thank you very much, Evil Mira. Appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. It's real strange. It's real strange these days. Is it because of the crossover? Yeah, I don't know, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. It's so weird. People are strange. Like, again, you could probably, like, why don't you do a march, or, for healthcare, like, or go do something productive instead of troll people on the internet. It makes no sense. Like, okay, like, if you want to waste your time saying weird things about people you have no idea that you've never met before, okay. I mean, it's a waste of time. Whatever. Okay. But have fun, I guess. Have at it. I have no idea. Yes, I'm going to be on the power panel on Friday. So that should be fun. So I look forward to that. All right. Anyway, what I'm going to do is we're going to raid in to another channel here. And why don't we raid into surfs today? We'll do a surfy raid. We'll start that. Again, thank you, TYT, for raiding me on... that's probably where they came from. Because everybody's doing, all the haters just come with the raid, I guess. Again, guys, go do something productive. Trust me, you'll feel a lot better. And maybe you'll get as close to Medicare for all. Is that what we all want? I know I do. All right, anyway. Yeah, we'll see you all tomorrow. Same time, same place. Thank you all again. and we will we'll see you tonight on the dystopian times.
Amazing. Tighten up my knee. I like my knee tight.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Whoa.